Good evening. I'm Reverend Thomas D. Johnson, Sr., pastor of Harlem's historic Canaan Baptist Church of Christ. Today is a day of remembrance when families and friends remember the September 11 attacks in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, Washington, D.C., and of course, right here in New York City. On that day, what Americans knew as a normal daily would forever be altered on September 11, 2001. The safety we felt in this country would never be the same as terrorism on our land became very real. We had to change how we live, travel, and even how we deal with our health. We remember all those who stepped in to save and to serve and have died from 9/11 related illnesses or continue to suffer today. Today, relatives and friends or relatives of victims visit Ground Zero in Lower Manhattan to let the world know the events of that tragic day will never be forgotten. And although it may be 19 years later, through God's grace and mercy, we continue to lift up these families and ask for strength, peace, and comfort.
Today marks the 19th anniversary of those attacks. The wreckage and debris has been cleared and new towers stand defiantly in the space. But for so many, the sorrow of that day will never be forgotten. At 8:46 a.m. that morning, life would change for so many people around the world. American Airlines Flight 11 from Boston with 92 people aboard would crash into the North Tower of the World Trade Center. At first, many thought a small plane had struck the tower, but at 9:03 a.m., the world would learn the tragedy was only the beginning. United Airlines Flight 175 with 65 aboard would crash into the South Tower, and that is when America knew this attack was due to terrorism. Chaos would reign in Lower Manhattan after the collapse of the South Tower and then the North Tower. We would learn of the hundreds of first responders who were trapped along with employees of hundreds of companies located in the World Trade Center.
You know my name if I saw you in heaven. Would it be the same
Firefighters lost, police officers gone, and nearly 3,000 families praying their loved ones somehow survived the tragedy.
I got the phone and I called Liz Job trying to reach her. I could not reach her. So I called Viv and I said, how's Liz doing? Did you hear from Liz? I tried to call, but I couldn't get any answer. I said, what's going on? She said, well, I heard from Liz and she's okay. And then someone turned on the computer and said, oh, the First World Trade Center went down. A plane went in it. So I got really scared. I got nervous because I just knew something was going to happen to her.
Unfortunately, many families like Canaan's own, Reverend Miles Travis Boyd and his aunt Vivian and Doris, September 11 would change their lives forever.
I said, Lord, this plane is so low. I'm like, why is this plane flying so low? They're telling everybody, get out of the building, get out of the building. We didn't know what was going on, so we got out of the building. So I walked and I walked. I was covered in debris. I walked by a firehouse. This guy stopped me and he said, do you want a bottle of water? I drank, I was drinking the water. I sat there a while. And I could hear everybody on the radio because they had the radio and all cars were parked. I could hear the people listening to the radio. And they were saying that the building was collapsing. It was coming down. I froze. I stood there a while. So I stopped walking, and I walked to the number 11 bus. And I know if I could get to the number 11 bus, I could get home. I did to get through all of this, because I had to get through this for myself, because I knew I had to wake up, because she has Travis, and what's going to happen to Travis now? Although he has other family on the other side, but they didn't know him like we knew him because we raised him from a baby. So one day I walked because I still was out of my mind. It seemed like my mind was over here and my body's over there. And if I could just pull it back together, I would be all right. But I knew I had to get myself together for Travis because who's going to do what Liz used to do for him?
September 11th, 2001, the little boy Travis was 12 years old. That morning, I called her line directly, and the line was just busy. I then called her boss, her supervisor, and the gentleman that worked right next to her, and all of their lines were busy. I called my mom's line again, and the line is just busy, 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 busy. So I'm confused. I don't know necessarily what's going on.
And I just sat and I said, come on, Viv, you got to go upstairs. I said, no, I don't want to go upstairs because I just know all of us was going to die. I just knew we were going to die.
We started going to the hospital, just looking for her, just trying to, find her. We had her picture posted over New York City, different hospitals. And we just couldn't find her. And at that point, I knew that she wasn't coming home.
All I can remember was me going in the house, getting dressed, and coming downstairs. That may have been maybe about 10 o'clock by the time we got downstairs. It was pure pandemonium coming up 61st from West End Avenue and coming up Amsterdam Avenue, passing 61st Street. I mean, you just seen fire trucks, you seen people driving, people were running. I've never seen so many people in New York City in one place. It was worse than Times Square, in my opinion. We go there, and we're sitting out there for hours. So my uncle said, well, let's go to Blimpie's, let's go get something to eat. And so we went, we got something to eat, we came back, and next thing I know, my aunt is walking up the hill from West End, and she's like covered in all of this dust. And she sits on the bench that's outside the house, and she is crying. And I remember her saying, no, I can't. And if anyone could get my aunt to do anything, it was my Uncle Bernard. He like, hey, Vivian, come on, let's go, you know? And even then she was like, I can't. She says, the building's not gonna fall, I can't. And so we stayed outside for a while. Stayed aside so much where I remember when Dr. Walker came and First Lady Teresa Ann Walker came downtown. I don't know how they got word that my mother was there. And this may have been maybe about 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And he stood in a circle with us on the corner and prayed with us. And he advised us to have an action plan of what we should do next, to maybe search or look for her. I remember at the time my mother's boyfriend, myself, my cousin Lynette, Miss Harriet, my mother's best friend, my Aunt Doris, we got in separate cars and we went downtown as far as we could that day looking for her. We went to some hospitals, no sign of Liz. We searched, no sign. So I went back to my aunt's house that Tuesday night, and I went in the room. I was in the room by myself, and I laid there all night, and I watched every news channel that showed what happened that day to see if I could find my mother somewhere on the news. And for days after, I did the same thing, looking to see if I could find my mother on the news. Weeks after, months after, it had gotten to a point by November, around the Thanksgiving time, my family decided to have a memorial service for her because I think they had realized at that point that she was gone. I could not fathom the idea that she was gone. I didn't accept it, couldn't accept it. I don't think I wanted to accept that idea. And so for years beyond that, not until I turned 18 and got to college, I'll never forget, my aunts drove me to college in Richmond, Virginia, packed all my stuff in a trunk, and we went up to Richmond. And I had my own room, and I put some pictures up on the wall of my friends and family members, and not realizing that there was this one space, and it was a picture of my I had a picture of my mother, and the space fit perfectly just for that picture. It wasn't planned. It wasn't, something I had thought of. And August 12th, 2007, 18 years old, is when I fully accepted that my mother had passed. Between 12 and 18, I had the idea that maybe she had amnesia, or, I had ideas that maybe one day she'd walk in church and, we'll see her, or she'll walk through the door. There'll be many days I'd see my Aunt Doris, because they're only like 11 months apart, and they look so much alike. I would be like, oh, is that my mom? Oh, that is Auntie Doris. So it took me almost 6-7 years to really identify the fact that my mother was gone. I couldn't fathom or understand why. I didn't know why. I knew my mother had made it out of the attacks in '92. She picked me up from school and took me home, took a shower. She was quiet that whole day. But I did not know why. I could not understand why. And that day in my dorm room, I sat at my desk and I just cried. And that was the first moment I had to mourn my mother.
Although we continue to commemorate the tragic loss on that fateful day, some people feel that each anniversary opens a wound that never heals. However, there have been some triumphs over the tragedy, and for some, the decision to not mourn, but celebrate the lives of their loved ones and the sacrifices they made before and on September 11th, as well as the impact they had on others.
I was afraid for him. I loved him, but I was afraid for him because it was only himself and his mom. And I was what I done was I turned myself into my sister. Not the behavior part, but the part that I see what he needs and I have to give it to him. I was walking down the street with a handful of clothes to go to the cleaners, and two people approached me. It was a young lady and a little son, and he was about Travis's size. And they just keep coming toward me, and this little boy had a rose in his hand. And he said, "This is for you." I said, "I don't even know you." But they said, "This is for you." So I took the rose and I continued to walk. And I said, something said, "Turn around." And when I turned around, it was nobody. Nobody. And up till this day, this hour, I cannot tell you who these people is. But they gave me a rose. So I took the rose and I put it in my Bible. And Liz loved roses, any kind of roses. She loved roses. But I think that was her telling me, "Viv, everything's gonna be all right."
What are you trying to say, Yolanda? Look, forget about all that other junk. This battle ain't yours. It's the Lord's. Think about it. And then start shouting. They do, according to the Master's purpose and His holy will. No matter what you in the balcony are going through, remember that God only wants a chance to use you. For the battle is not yours. Tell the devil that, all right? There's no sadness Jesus cannot feel, and there's no sorrow that the Master is not able and willing to heal. Remember that all things work is not yours, no. If you don't understand anything, know that you've been set up by God to be blessed. Understand that it's got to work this way. Understand that God knows what you need before you really need it. He knows how to move you. He knows how to take you around the enemy. He knows how to hide you in the comfort of his arms. You'll have peace that passes understanding. You'll have joy like a river ever flowing, ever flowing, ever flowing. This battle is not yours. No. Tell the devil, no. This battle is not mine. This battle is not mine. I don't have to fight it. God is gonna do it. I don't have to fight it. God is gonna do it. I don't have to fight it. God is gonna do it. I don't have to fight it. God is gonna do it. I don't. I'm so glad that God sees it. And you know, this battle is not yours. No, it belongs to the Lord. Hallelujah. Yeah. Hallelujah. Yeah. Hallelujah. Woo. Yeah.
In celebration of his mother, Reverend Boyd founded the Elizabeth Holmes Foundation.
Because my mother was an active and she was an advocate of education, and I realized that in order to continue her legacy, it was just beyond me. And so I started the Elizabeth Holmes Scholarship Foundation in honor of her, honoring those in education who help those in education, but then also supplying scholarships for scholars who are on their journey or on their journey in college or on their way to college with financial assistance. So to date, we have helped 28 students from, I believe, from 2010 up until now. It's been 28 students that we've helped matriculate through their financial process through school.
I would say, Liz, you know, Travis turned out okay. Everybody thought that he was going to be a minister. He used to stand on a little kindergarten stool and preach to my mother. And he just turned out to be a great man. And I really, really love him. I think he's awesome. He's just a wonderful person. He's always there praying for everyone.
If the child Travis could speak to his mother right now, he probably would tell her to come home. He probably would have told her to come home because our bond was unmatched. When my mom went, I went. Whatever she did it for me. So the 12-year-old would have told mom to come home. The adult Travis would tell mom, thank you. Thank you for the investments. Thank you for the love, the time, sitting at the table, doing homework, crying. Thank you for all the reading that you made me do. Thank you for giving me all that I needed. But thank you for making me into the man that I am today.
Though I'm missing you, I'll find a way to get through. Living without you, 'cause you were my sister, my strength, and my pride. Only God may know why. Still I will get by. Who would have known that you'd have to go so suddenly, so fast? How could it be that you're gone, every day I go on, but life's just not the same. I'm so empty inside, and my tears I can't hide, but I'll try to face the pain, though I'm missing you. I'll find a way to get through. Living without you, 'cause you were my sister, my strength, and my ground. Only God may know why. Still, I will get by.
There were so many things that we could have shared. If time was on our side. Ooh, yeah. Now that you're gone, I can still feel you near. So I'll smile with every tear I cry. Though I'm missing you, I'll find a way to go through. Living without you, 'cause you were my sister, my strength and my pride. Only God may know why. Still, I will get by. Sweet, well, the closest of friends. But I wait for the day when I'll see you again. See you again. But I'll find a way to get through. Living without you. You are my sister, and my pride. Only God may know why. I will get by. I'm missing you. I'm missing you. I'll find a way. I'll find a way. I'll find a way. But you